What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Passive Tree Podcast, a podcast dedicated to talk about life, Path of Exile 2, and everything in between. I'm your host, Blaze, and today on episode 42, I'm joined by a fellow PoE creator, streamer. You know him, it's Palstron. Welcome back, or welcome on, sorry, and how the heck are you doing, sir?
What's going on, man? Thank you for having me. Yeah, just playing the video game, having a great time right now with PoE 1, so hope you too.
Dude, I was just saying before we started the podcast, and I've been saying this over the last couple, maybe week and a half. For me, this is the league that got me addicted. Like straight up, like I've been thinking about PoE 1 when I'm not playing PoE 1, which is that sign where if you're thinking about the build, the farming strategies and all that kind of stuff, like I'm in it now. And I have to say, I think it is, you know, attributed to your build guide. So I've never actually followed any of your builds before, but I started off this league like many others did, doing KF totems as my league starter. So I just want to say, first and foremost, thank you for that because it's been a super great build and it's been a super smooth ride for me.
Oh, no problem, man. Yeah. I mean, I usually do these league starters. They're a lot of work. Then the first 5 days I update, and then I can kind of start playing the game, right? But it's it's what I do. So
Yeah,
glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, it's been super inspiring to see sort of the process that you have with regards to league starters. And it's interesting because for me personally, I haven't followed a league starter build in a few PoE 2 leagues. I've always started with my own build that I made. So it's been interesting going through and actually experiencing following your guide, following your updates, seeing what you're doing on a play-by-play basis. I just want to start by asking how did you decide on this particular build? What was sort of your process that led you to landing on KF totems as sort of the build to start off the league with?
So I already heard some rumors about the skill being really strong in 3.27 when it came out. But usually PoE is very complex. So when a new skill comes out, people aren't gonna risk their league start on it unless it looks absurd. And that the skill in particular wasn't that easy to decipher. So, but a lot of people already played it. For example, Alcohol League started in 3.27. And yeah, I just saw that it had potential and that ballistas were a perfect fit. And I love ballista playstyle. So I played it in Frisia League, which was this mini league before 3.28. And it was incredible. They didn't nerf it. So here we are. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, and I'm sure a lot of you folks out there who are listening experience this, especially if you're a newer player. There's this sort of paralysis that I experienced as a newer player for PoE 1, where it was it's hard to pick what build to choose, to go with as your league starter. As you mentioned, there is this sort of emphasis on you want to pick the right thing. Obviously, you don't want to make the wrong choice, I guess, and sort of grief yourself and have to make a new character or something like that. Do you have any sort of I guess advice to people who are kind of newer to PoE 1, essentially, to how do you get over this sort of league start paralysis? It's hard to pick a build, you know what I mean?
I mean, I don't think you have to get over it. It's part of the fun,
Okay.
right? It's I mean, why is it a paralysis? It's because you're so excited about the game and you're passionate about the game, right? And there's so many options and you just pick one and have fun with it. I guess the only thing I have is don't give up your build too fast because builds have different power spikes. So sometimes you don't actually know if something's good. You're not giving it a chance. You're not really gearing it. But if you don't like the play style of a skill, then immediately swap. If you don't like it, then just that's the most important thing. Power level is obviously important because PoE, the way it's balanced, if you play a bad skill, you're going to have a bad time most of the time, unless you're really good at the game. But if you got to give it a chance at least, I would say.
I got you. I wanted to sort of follow up that question about specifically new skills as well. And so there's a lot of potential excitement around playing new skills, especially prior to league launch. But the thing about new skills is we actually don't have all of the information about them. We have sort of what they've presented to us. What are sort of your takes about league starter builds that potentially incorporate new skills associated with them?
I think it's great. I think people are too paralyzed, as you said earlier, about playing new skills. And this is more of a content creator sickness where I don't want to deliver on a risky build. Sometimes I will if I don't have any other idea. And I will also say that in the video that it's risky or whatever. But I think you shouldn't be paralyzed at all. If even creators, like they should be more outgoing and try that stuff out. It's just there's a lot of policing going on, obviously, because the game's very competitive, but it's been out for so long and people have been min-maxing it for so long. But I don't think you should be discouraged at all trying a new skill. Have a fallback plan, maybe. Do leveling runs. That's probably the most important thing. Like if you have some leveling runs in with leveling skills, you can usually, I don't know, if the skill sucks. For example, I played Holy Strike. At level 1, you get it from Templar. I tried it, as you did as well, right? Kill Hillock with it. And then I was like, okay, maybe I can level with this instead of rolling magma. And then I tried it and I was like, no, it sucks. So I guess keep your options open.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, keep your options open, I guess. And otherwise, I think people should experiment more. And it's kind of unfortunate. We have, I'm going to go on a tangent, but we had like a time where PoE was really hard for a while, especially for newer players. Because the early game scaling was pretty rough and the game was very punishing, especially with tier 17s and whatnot. But we're now getting to a phase where the game becomes a little bit easier again. So I think everybody can calm down a little bit more and try some more stuff for sure.
Yeah, I love that answer. I was expecting a way longer tangent, by the way. So if you think that's a tangent, you feel free to feel free to cook way harder if you want to.
I'm
yeah,
sure we'll get there. Yeah,
100%, man. I feel like we're kind of in this era where I feel like as you mentioned, like there is this sort of pressure that everybody feels, and as somebody who's newer to Path of Exile 1, and I know this exists in PoE 2 as well, it almost seems like there's this weird stigma about playing new skills. Everyone starts calling it bait and whatever. But there's obviously a lot of like excitement around playing new skills as well. And I loved how you mentioned just like kind of just experiment, just try different things, like that's the fun of these types of games, right? Like you don't always have to be so worried about like choosing the perfect build or the most optimal or the most efficient. Like people love doing that in ARPGs, of course, but there is like maybe too much of an emphasis on that right now. So yeah, I think that's a solid answer for sure. Okay, so
Agreed.
generally speaking, dude, like Mirage, it's been for me an incredible league. I've had probably the most fun I've had in my like few leagues of PoE 1. Just generally speaking, how's it been for you, man?
Great. The league mechanic is just very simple, very slick, works with a lot of other old stuff. The Atlas rework is great. There's just a lot of things to do. And it's really the first league in a while where not just the league mechanic is fresh, but the whole Atlas is fresh. And they used to do this a lot more back in the day. But obviously there has been a lot of focus on PoE 2, and they've been toning down a little bit the like, I don't know, the wideness, let's just say, of the patches. Not necessarily the depth, but like the wideness. And there was a lot less to do, but it seems like we're back on track. So like you said, maybe it is, or I think you said that before the interview, maybe it is because the team is now a little bit more split, a little bit more focused. Could be.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because up to this point, and this is just sort of an observation. I don't know the inner workings of GGG. I don't know if you have any sort of insight or deeper knowledge about their company and whatnot, but based on the two interviews that we got with Zizareno and Jung, talking to Octavian and Andrew, they actually like vocally were like, yeah, we actually have like a full dedicated team now. And I do think that it's not a coincidence that like we're getting this really amazing league that's been very positively received, alongside the news that like GGG has sort of internally figured out their own balance. And I think that that's something that they've obviously really struggled with over the last year, especially with PoE2's development. Like, we had the 11-month, I think it was Settlers League for PoE1, like as they were sort of like, figuring out their PoE2 side of things. And so I definitely think that that's contributed to it. One thing that really stuck out to me with Mirage was just the Atlas rework, like you mentioned. Like for me as a PoE2 player, it really felt like it was such an easy transition going from someone who plays a lot of PoE2 into now the Path of Exile 1, like Atlas rework. Do you think that they may be potentially trying stuff out on the PoE1 side of things to incorporate into 0.5's like endgame update?
They're doing it in both. They're doing it in both games. They've done a lot of testing in PoE2 and then gotten it over. For example, the map change that you saw, where you can now use basically a waste stone, right? It's now, and you just put it in whatever map you want. Funnily enough, a lot of those PoE2 implementations work in PoE1 even better, and they've been really good at picking those out and porting them over. And yeah, I think they do, and I think they should. I mean, what else? Like they have such good information, right? Like it's great, and that's also one of the reasons why I think it's important that PoE1 and PoE2 stay different to an extent, right? So they can test out different things, see where it overlaps and whatnot. So I totally agree. Also, to viewers who might be confused, I just put you from the one screen to the other because I just saw that otherwise I look away from you. So I think now it's better. But yeah,
Nice.
I just put, yeah.
No, I appreciate you clarifying that. For the 5 people who actually watch the podcast and not actually just listen to it on their second monitors. Now you guys know why he's looking right at us. Yeah, no, I think it's great that they have these two like quite different games still. We're gonna get into this more like the games aren't as different as they used to be. Like the games started off completely different in all sense of the word, and now it kind of feels like they're slowly becoming more similar to each other. So more on that later. Before we sort of move into more of that, I'd love to just ask you a bit more about Mirage. With your sort of, I guess, previous experience with PoE, to somebody like me who doesn't really have a like frame of reference to many past leagues, like my first league was really like Mercenaries. How does like Mirage compare for you to like all of the other leagues that you've played up to this point?
Oh, it's already one of the best leagues of all time for me personally. And a lot of the PoE vets feel the same or similar from what I've heard. So for me, the only problem has been connection issues were pretty rough, and unfortunately, that is part of the game. So even though it's not gameplay related, it is a pretty big deal for the league as a whole. But otherwise, I would say it's easily top three. And if it wasn't for the disconnect issues, it would probably be an easy top one. Mainly because the league just works with everything before. It's slick. It's just I don't know. It's seamless. It's just good. Like it's just a good league. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, it just feels like it's kind of just like um I don't want to discredit their work by calling it like an easy win, but the mechanic itself just feels like it's giving the players more of what they want. They want to
So
juice their maps more. Sorry, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
no, sorry. I was gonna say they had two similar leagues in the past that you haven't experienced, I guess, because they had Scourge, which was a little bit similar in 3.16. That's now what now is Beyond. It used to be that you get ported in an alternate version of your map, and you go through there and also kill monsters and whatnot, which got later abandoned. And then also Delirium is quite similar, I would say, and it also interacts with a lot of the league mechanics in a lot of ways. So those were before, and both of those were quite beloved. And so it is an easy win, but they do this a lot. They repeat patterns that people just like, right? Like, for example, take Legion and Breach. At the end of the day, that's like hordes of monsters, loot explosions, and whatnot. It just works, right? So, yes. But also this time, so in the past, there used to be a lot of leagues where the quality of life wasn't really there at the start, and people had to ask for it. And then it would come in like week 2, week 3, week 4. This time, a lot of those things have been inbuilt from the get go. So they already said that they're working on not making it a loading screen or keeping your buffs when you go into the Mirage. And just in general, like everything has been so smooth. And a lot of the things we've been asking for are just, I would say Mirage is as close to a free W, as you said, as it gets, but they've learned a lot from past mistakes, I would say. Like a
Yeah,
lot.
definitely. And I feel
Yeah.
like I don't know if you feel this way, but to me it feels like no matter what I'm doing, I can make money. Like it doesn't feel like there's a
Yeah.
one all be all. Like I need to be doing like strong boxes. Let's just use that for example. Like I can just do if I want to do delve now with the fossil changes. Like delve just feels like a super lucrative thing. If I really want to get into that, if I want to do shrines, it feels like it's a super lucrative thing. People are doing breach. People are doing harvest. Like there's just so many ways to make money. And I don't know if this is like normally how a PoE one economy feels like because this is like my first time playing PoE one on like a softcore trade, but it just feels nice to like no matter what, there's something that I can do that I enjoy that's going to be lucrative, which is cool.
I think it's probably a mixture of things is that you're just getting better at the game. Like at the start, your jump from every league is so huge. And you start to realize that no matter what you do, you can make a lot of money if you just focus on it and if you get better at it. So that's probably part of it. But also, yeah, the best leagues are the ones where everybody thinks they have the OP farm, right? Like that's the one. Everybody thinks they have the OP build. Everybody thinks they have the OP farm. But in general, it's just a well-balanced mess of everybody kind of does their own thing, right? So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's good. Having so much fun, man. I can't wait to play more. Yeah, I'd love to get in some of your early video game history if you're cool with that.
Sure.
All right. So when did you fall in love with video games? I actually heard this on a podcast the other day and I was like, ooh, that's like a nice way to like rephrase this question that I actually ask every episode. Like, was there a moment in time where you first like fell in love with video games? I'd love to hear about that.
Ooh, first time. Um, so I used to watch my cousin play D2. I remember that, but it was kind of scary back then for me because skeleton zombies and stuff like that, and my parents didn't want me to play it, so I didn't really play much of that. Later on, I fell in love with like RPGs. There's a lot of like European RPGs that came out back then, like Two Worlds. Actually, I don't remember if Two Worlds was, but Gothic, the Gothic series was huge around here, um, and stuff like that, and just obviously Morrowind, Oblivion. So that's when I first, I think, fell in love with video games. And ARPGs kind of came later with D3. Somebody got me into D3, and then inadvertently I got into PoE. So that's kind of how I started out, I feel like. And I always played card games. I always played like board games, like mostly card games. So MTG, Yu-Gi-Oh, all of those. So I was always into. I think it was just problem solving. I just liked the problem solving aspect of it all. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. I've never really got into the Gothic series. It's funny. I was actually just looking at
Oh
like
yeah.
I watch a lot of like video game retrospective videos on YouTube where they just someone breaks down like the entire series of something. And I saw Gothic and I added it to my watch later because I was like, oh, I don't really know much about this. Were there any games as you know, grew up, as you got older that you would say have had, like, a monumental impact on you as a gamer? Like, something that you look back on today and you're like, "Fuck, like, that game was goated. I still love that game."
It's got to be Gothic 2 Night of the Raven was probably the game I've played through the most ever. So Night of the Raven is the expansion. Just countless times. I can't even say why. You said you haven't really ever gotten into the Gothic series. The problem is that the English translation is absolute horrible. Like it is so bad. The big like countries that kind of consume Gothic is Germany, Polish people as well, and Russian has a good translation. And the reason it's so important is because like the atmosphere of this game is just like you can't describe it. It's like you cannot reenact it. It's just I don't know. You have to have played it. So I would personally prefer if you ever want to try it out, do German with subtitles or Polish with subtitles, anything like that. But yeah, original is German. So
Okay, I got you. So, it's originally a German game. Love that. I will definitely if I go back and play it at some point. The problem is, dude, when you really get into Path of Exile, it's hard to find time to play other games. Like, I don't know
yeah.
about you, but for me now, I'm like, you know, basically choosing my extra time gaming time around PoE 2 or PoE 1 League launches at this point. Do you have time to play other games usually, or is it like just PoE, PoE, PoE?
The only games I play off stream are very chill games. So, for example, I play Bazaar a little bit off stream. I play Hearthstone Battlegrounds, which is kind of like an auto battler. I like auto battlers because I can play them while doing other stuff on the sides. And I'm mostly like, if I play something else, I played with friends or something like IRL friends. But otherwise, not really. It's really hard. I mean, you know this, but if you want to do this for a living, it's also really hard to kind of not get burned out if you play off stream and on stream. It's a lot at some point. And I really struggled in general getting my RL in line while doing this and being so long on being on the PC all the time. So I really try to make time. I really try to do stuff with people in real life, with my parents, like meet them up sometimes. So I really try to get myself out of this world as much as possible. So it's hard to find time otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that balance is something that we all struggle with, especially when it comes to something as entrepreneurial as content creation. It's hard because there's always something more you could be doing. There's always another video you could be
Yeah.
working on. There's always another, the list goes on, right? And yeah, just as like sort of a follow up, like how did you improve that like balance or like find that balance for yourself like moving forward? Like as you mentioned, it is like a struggle that a lot of people sort of experience, like not even as content creators, but just as people who like to play video games in general. Like I'd love to hear sort of your insights on that if you have any.
Mm, I would say mostly I stopped feeling bad about not answering people all the time. So, for example, I used to feel bad whenever I didn't answer every single Discord message I got or every single ping that I got. Um, like I just try to detach myself a little bit and say that I have only a certain amount of time in the day and I have to be like, I don't know, just not enslave myself. And it is like one of the most cozy jobs ever. Like it's if you can't make this work, then what else are you gonna make? Like it's so easy to make work. It's just a mindset thing where you just say, I'm just gonna stop now. And that's the hard part because it's also games are addictive. So you want a game as well, but it overlaps with your work. So when do you actually go outside? And I don't want to be in that situation where I become a weird hermit where I go outside and people look weird at me, right? So I have to kind of balance it and go to the gym and whatnot to not be that guy, because that's my that's my biggest nightmare, and that's what I'm trying to combat every day. So that's, I guess, all I can say.
No, that's great. I think, for me, it's been something that I've been very, like, actively trying to keep in the back of my head as well. It's actually a question that I ask pretty much everybody on the podcast because balance is just so important, especially in, like, a gaming context as well, because as you mentioned, like, these games are addictive. Like, I made a video about, like, why, ARPGs, or in this case, Path of Exile, is like a casino, basically. Like, it triggers all the same, like, dopamine receptors in your brain that, like, going to a casino does. Like, you're constantly pulling the slot machine crank and hoping that a jackpot hits. Like, that's all we're doing essentially. And so it's important to get out of the casino, and try and see people. And it's hard. I don't know if what it's like weather-wise where you are, but in Canada where I'm at, it gets really cold and really shitty for like half the year. At
Mm.
least from like November until like right around now. And so that is like peak gaming time for me. But even during these months, it's like, yeah, I've been trying really hard to get out. We just went to a stand-up comedy show on Sunday, and there was like 50 people there, all from my girlfriend's work. And I was like, whoa, this is the most people I've seen all winter, which is crazy to say. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
important, man.
I think for me, sports is mostly helpful. Like, I don't know, go on a run with somebody. If you go on a run anyways, then just ask somebody. I try everywhere. I really try everywhere. I even like started reading again and whatnot. I just don't want to. I just see people like me become, I don't know, TikTok people where they just scroll through every day, then they go on YouTube, then they go stream, then they go to sleep, and there's nothing else, right? Like there's nothing disconnecting them ever. I just try to do exactly the opposite. When I turn my stream off, I try to do exactly the opposite. And the first week of a league and the week after is obviously stressful, but afterwards I just try to. People meme me all the time that I only stream 6 to 7 hours or whatever, 4 to 7 hours or whatever. Um, but it's like I need that. Otherwise, I go crazy. I absolutely do.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I'm slowly like understanding this. Like, I had my first league launch, where I did like, 14, 15-hour streams every day. I think it was zero point 0.3 for Rise of the Abyssals, or like the Third Edict. And I'm sure you would know this, but like, dude, it fucks you up, man. Like, like all the respect and power to people who are doing like 24-hour streams and subathons and stuff like that. But like, even doing that for a weekend, like, took me a while to recover. And since then, I've made a basically a promise to myself, just being like, never again. Like, I don't need to do that much gaming. Like, on league launch, like 10, maybe 12 hours. Like, that's great for me. And yeah, I think as we talk about this, it's very important that everybody finds their own balance. Like, one thing that works for both of us could totally not work for somebody else. And so it's just
Yeah,
everyone's on their sort of own journey with that, right? Yeah.
exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
so I would love to learn more about your content creation journey. I did some research on your channel, and I found some interesting things out. So the first thing that I thought I found that was super interesting was that despite your channel being a 99% PoE based channel, your most popular video is a Diablo 4 video. Talk to me about what happened here. Did you expect this video that you made about Diablo 4's itemization to be your most popular video?
So what happened was, okay, I can explain this, okay? Um, what happened was Blizzard tweeted a video about itemization, and I fucking hated that video. Like I thought that video was absolute trash, and it was incorrect as well. I was the actually guy, actually, and I just made a video. Like it took me an hour to film, uh, edit. put it up, and I don't know, all of a sudden the algo did their work. I have no idea. That's all I know. All I know is D4 on League Start, if you post it there, it was a gold mine. Yeah, for sure. I should have made more videos.
So it essentially was something that you, and this is something that happens as content creators more often than not, where the videos, I don't know if you agree with this, but it feels like sometimes the videos that you don't put any or less effort into end up performing better than the ones that you like pour your heart and soul into. Has that been sort of like your experience, or can you speak to that at all?
Not really. I mean, there's outliers, but I don't feel like that's true for me, at least. I feel like I can usually pinpoint pretty well. I often don't know what people want. Like, for example, I make like a loot filter video and nobody gives a crap, even though I get asked all day on stream, right? Like, okay, cool. But most of the time I have like a decent idea and I focus my energy on those videos. But I also do very like build guides. Yeah, they're gonna do well, right? Like new player guides, they're gonna do well. Um, I guess when it comes to like flavor of the month stuff, yeah, sometimes you get 100K views on some random item that I talk about for 8 minutes, right? Like, sure, that's weird, but overall, not too much, and that also gives me confidence in terms of what I want to put out. So, yeah.
It's
Do you
something
have
that
that often? Do
It's
you have that
something
often
that
with
you
like
learn with
random stuff?
experience. Like, I think for you, because you've been doing this for quite a few years, it's kind of a game of habit and trends and cycles, very much like it's reflective in the games that we're making content about, right? Like, for
Yeah,
instance, when you're doing a league start builds, like, prior to a league happening, there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of excitement, and there's a lot of like viewership for those videos. And so it's like a safe bet to be, you have to make sure that you hit the nail on the head with regards to that. And then the
yeah,
follow-up videos afterwards, the farming strategies and whatnot. And so it feels like the more experience you have, obviously you have a lot more experience with this stuff than I do. It almost becomes not predictable, but like you have a very good grasp of like, okay, it's this time, I should be doing this type of video, sort of thing. For me,
yeah.
to answer your question, right now do a lot of like what I call content fishing, where I put on a different lure and I throw it in the water and I see what I can catch. I'm very much aware, or becoming more aware, of these trends that we're talking about, but I'm trying to figure out what I like to make. Like I'm working on a bunch of different videos. A lot of them are, video essays, some of them are build guides, some of them are like comedy videos and stuff like that. And I like making all of them. So I'm still waiting for like, something to pop out and be like, this is your calling, like this is your thing. But still haven't discovered that quite yet.
I think that's a great approach. I mean, I like that you said first what you like to make, because I feel like a lot of people think too much about what other people like to watch. But the truth is, if you're not like passionate for what you're doing, it's not only not sustainable for a long time, but also people notice it. Like I can tell you that my viewership on YouTube correlates exactly with how I enjoy the league every single time. I notice it on my stream numbers. I notice it in my YouTube. It's like if I'm not hyped about what I'm doing, then why the fuck would anybody else, right? It's so if you enjoy it, and sure it might still do bad, but then at least you know, right? You find out. So yeah, I think that's great. Great approach.
Yeah, it's kind of like trying out a new skill versus doing the tried and true. You know what I mean? It's good to experiment, because then you get to find out new play styles that you like. And I'm still very much in the finding play styles that I like era of my content. That being said, like it really, the guiding star for me, and it sounds like it is for you as well, is like, the enjoyment and the fun aspect. At the end of the day, we're just making videos about video games. Like, we got to have fun with it, right? And that's always the advice that I give to people who ask me, like, Blaze, I have these videos. I don't know what to make. What should I make right now? And I'm like, what are you stoked on making, dude? Like, that's the first question. What are you like excited to make right now? And that's the one you got to
Yeah.
do.
Well, the way I
Yeah.
see oh sorry. The way I see this whole gig is so if you're a streamer, a lot of the success in life comes from, I don't know, also outward validation where people, I don't know, give you credit and I don't know, you're a doctor, right? Like that's something. You're somebody in real life. You meet people and you can say you're a doctor. I feel like streaming is like the bottom of the barrel. Like you can't tell it to anybody. It's kind of like the money can be all right, but you have
Yeah.
no social status.
Yeah.
So that being said, just being honest about that. If you don't have fun, what the fuck are you doing, right? Like, what is the job then, right? It's like just at that point, yeah. that's the deal, right? That's the deal.
What 100%, man. I mean, dude, we all started this, or in some respect, because we've had so much fun playing video games throughout our lives that we just wanted to do it more, right? Like that's kind of for me how it all started. It all started actually with falling in love with Path of Exile too, and that's kind of like what propelled me to even begin putting myself on the internet. And that's kind of what I noticed when I was doing my research about your channel was that your oldest videos are 4 years ago, and it all started with Path of Exile. Was Path of Exile the first content that you ever made on YouTube?
Yeah. Yeah. I started during COVID because so I was in uni back then, and I was kind of like in my final stretch, and then COVID hit and everything was kind of delayed. So I got super bored, and a buddy of mine talked me into making a video. My first video got 75K views, and I was like, okay, I need to do more of this maybe. That's crazy. And yeah, then I just kept making videos. I don't know, and now here we are. Yeah.
So how long did you play Path of Exile before you ended up like deciding to make a video about the game?
I mean, forever. Like, I would have probably never made a video if it wasn't for COVID, honestly. Like, 7 years. I played 7 years before that. Yeah. Since
Wow.
2014.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, are you able to sort of elaborate on how that conversation went? Like, why was your friend like, you need to make a video about this game? Was it just because he was like, you need like something to focus on right now? Like, pal, you're playing way too much PoE. You're not doing anything else. At least make a video about it. Was that sort of the angle? Like, how did that all happen?
Yeah, it was that angle, but it was also realizing at the final stretch of uni that I wasted a lot of time because of gaming. And it was kind of like you said earlier, this decision of either I quit video games or I make it my job kind of deal because it doesn't really fit into being successful in real life. Like you just quote unquote wasting your time if you want to have a career somewhere. So you're kind of deciding you either make it your job or you stop doing it altogether, right? It's like that was kind of the decision for me. And during COVID, I had an excuse to try it. So yeah, that's what I did.
It's a big decision too, and I totally relate to what you're talking about, man. Like for me, last winter was the winter that like Path of Exile 2 came out. And up to this point, like I'm a freelance like mural artist, so I work from like spring until fall, basically outdoors painting, doing my art, and then in the wintertime, I usually don't work unless I get some like interior jobs, which happen from time to time, but it's not very very frequently. And so most of the time in the wintertime, I just don't work, which is a lovely luxury of this business, but also like can get a little depressing when you're just like playing a lot of video games and not doing anything else.
Yeah.
And so it feels almost like responsible gaming to a certain degree. That's kind of like how I describe it to my partner, or she's like, at least you're not just like degenerately gaming. Now, at least like you're responsibly gaming, like you're making content and stuff like that around it. I don't know if that resonates
Yeah.
with you as well, but that's kind of the way that we talk about it.
I feel the way I felt about gaming is at the start of my 20s, I felt pretty much whatever about it. I just gamed whenever I wanted to game. And then the further I got into, I don't know, adulthood and having to make money outside of just, I don't know, some random jobs here or there, it came to the situation where it was just like not cute anymore, as you say. Like being at home, eating chips, fucking staying up for 18 hours a day. That's like, if you don't make money with that, then what the hell are you doing? At some point, it's rough. It's really rough, and it takes a lot of like self-awareness and yeah, just being honest with yourself. But I'm happy it worked out, but I don't think I'm somebody who would have played at all. Like I would have either I'm always like all in or nothing. That's always me. It's like I either would have stopped playing video games or I would have just done exactly what I'm doing right now. Yeah.
Okay, so on the flip side, let's hypothetically speaking, if you had chosen to go the opposite route, which I'm happy that you didn't, because then we would never have this conversation, which has been super fun already. But what would have done? Did you have any sort of like career path or like direction that you wanted to take, or were you just like kind of aimless in that sense?
I wasn't really aimless. It was more I got kind of jaded towards the end of. I was studying econ, and I kind of got jaded towards the end of it. And yeah, it's like pretty private thing, so I don't want to like stretch it out here. But I felt very jaded, so I'm happy I got an opportunity. There was obviously like eh, econ uni. You always have people doing startups and whatnot, so I probably would have tried out some stuff there. But yeah, let's just say I'm happy it worked out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy for you too. I mean, I don't know if you believe in this, but it kind of felt like the universe had your back almost because like not many people get like 75K views on their first YouTube video. Like that is very much like a sign that you're doing something right. The algorithm's obviously blessing you, but it was almost like it felt like, the universe was giving you like a little shove in that direction, being like, yo, this could be something. And then obviously it ended up working out. So that's amazing, man. Congrats on that.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to more ARPG stuff. You mentioned kind of briefly in this earlier on in this conversation, you talked about Diablo 3 being your first ARPG. Um, just like how did that come across? Did you end up like, getting into Diablo 3 through a friend, or like how did you get your feet into the ARPG space?
Yeah, I got in there through a buddy of mine, and we played in like a guild that I got kicked from because I was kind of a know-it-all. I was back there. I was telling everybody how to set up their builds because everybody was fucking clueless. So I was very obnoxious. So I understand why I got kicked. But yeah, that's kind of how it started, and then I got into PoE from there. So yeah.
Interesting. Did you get into PoE while like still playing Diablo 3, or did you sort of just like get into PoE and never look back on Diablo games essentially?
Mm, For me, like I said, I'm just looking for. I think I'm just looking for constant problem solving, and D3 didn't have that much of it. It kind of had this like charm for a while, and then I don't know. They didn't really evolve much, so it was a pretty clean move away. And I already had some buddies who went over to PoE. The problem with PoE was I actually tried it in like 2013, and then in 2014 it kind of clicked. But the game at the time was just pretty trash, and the servers were really bad, rubber banding and whatnot. So yeah, it took a little bit more convincing, but eventually I got there. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's been an acquired taste as well. It's definitely taken me a couple tries. I feel like it's the longer you, or I guess like the later in PoE one's development, I feel like the harder it is to get into. Like starting out as a new player in like 2025, well, there's just like so much shit to learn. Like, do you think that like PoE deserves its like negative stigma regarding like complexity, difficulty, and like bloat in some cases?
Yeah, it does because like as much as I like being helpful to people, the fact that you choose Spark at level 2 and you get absolutely ass blasted is insane to me. Like it's just absolutely insane to me. And you play a lot of PoE 2. There's stuff that I call dev builds, right? Which is just very obvious shells of builds that you can grab. So for example, in PoE 2, that would be I'm gonna go bear. And there's like 3 skills. Like what the hell are you gonna do? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. You go, I don't know, like you go wolf, same thing. You go plants. So those are dev builds. Those exist for a reason. Those are there so people don't have to have a degree to be able to play the game. It's that simple. Oh, and in PoE 1, it's like, oh, you first have to go ranger so you can mule momentum, and then, oh no, don't pick those 5 skills. Go to the vendor and buy this other skill. It's like it's absurd. So that would need to change. And secondarily, like the gem system, not being able to like the PoE 2 gem system is absolutely superior. No tooltips. I mean, of course, yeah. It's like I made a beginner's guide about this game, and it took me 2 hours to get everything together, and I said like almost nothing in that video as well. It's like there's so much to say. So yeah, it definitely deserves that. And PoE 2, as much as it gets criticized, it's a clean slate for everybody. If anything, it's a clean slate for everybody to start at the same time because what you said is true. You starting in 2025 is really rough. Me learning everything along the way was very easy. It's just easy. You start in 2013, you get everything bite sized. You getting thrown in there, it's rough, man. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, and I think that that was one of the most successful parts about PoE 2 and why I think that and we don't know the answer to this question, but why I believe they deviated away from the initial plan for PoE 2, which was supposed to be Path of Exile 2's 4.0 update. Um, they during the course of between ExileCon 2019 and ExileCon 2023, that changed, and it ended up being, too much of a bigger or too much of a bigger game. Yes, there are all sorts of alternate reasons. It could be monetary, it could be whatever. But part of it was, I think, to introduce more people to Path of Exile. because I think that they realize at a certain point that like the new player onboarding is just so difficult in PoE one, and I don't think it's perfect in PoE two either by any means. But as you mentioned, like at least it's a clean slate where you're getting it at the ground floor, and that's what hooked me. And I think they're also being really successful with like now that you're hooked on PoE two, it makes your brain start to think about, oh, well, like how can I play more PoE? PoE one is over here waiting for you, and if you really want to, you can do that as well. So, do you think that that's going to be more commonplace moving forward? Like more people are just going to play PoE two first, and then just like get into PoE one after, or
Well, I think what you said earlier is, I actually agree with you. What you said at the very start. I think you said something akin to PoE two is a great way to get into PoE one because there is a lot of overlap, and PoE two is a lot more new player friendly. So if you jump into PoE one, it's actually a good tutorial. You kind of know what's going on. It's a little bit different, but close enough, right? It's close enough. So I think that's great. And PoE two just has a different flavor. So I don't know if I would necessarily tell people to play PoE one. I'm not one of those guys, but I think it's good to know where everything's coming from, I guess. But I love that both games exist. I say this all the time. I want PoE two to succeed for making content about it because right now I'm not as passionate as I maybe could be about PoE two, but I want to be, and I'm always gonna stay on course, right? Like I'm always gonna check out new patches, and yeah, currently really looking forward to 0.5. So.
me too, man. I can't wait to get into that discussion with you because there's definitely some important like aspects of 0.5 that we can talk about. As we sort of talk about like the onboarding for PoE 1, I know there's a lot of people within my audience that are like either new to PoE 1 or have never played before. Like, what are some like pieces of advice that you give to somebody who's like just brand new out the gate, ready to get into PoE 1? How would you like guide them to make their like experience getting into the game a little bit easier?
I would always, I mean, I made a video, like a 2 hour video about uh, a beginner's guide. 1 hour of that is basically campaign and whatnot. So if you have time to check that out, then sure, but I guess most people don't. So I would say understand what the colors mean, like the color scheme. Red is strength, armor, also red gems, right? Mostly melee and whatnot. Like make those kind of make those connections, and just start playing the game. And probably take a guide. I do not agree with people who say just jump into it willy nilly because I don't think you're actually learning anything. Because a lot of people say no, you have to learn the game from the ground up, so you have to experiment. But builds in this game are just very convoluted, and if you can take that edge away from having to develop your build on your own, you can focus on the 100 other things that you have to learn, right? Because it's not like once you take the build away, there's not 100 other things you have to focus on as well. So that's what I would probably tell people. And yeah, then just it's hours, pattern recognition, all the good stuff, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great answer. I think the when I jumped in for the first time, it was blind with no build guide, just basically trying to figure out the game on my PoE 2 knowledge. I did that for content. I did that for a video. Looking back on it, it completely like skewed my experience because despite me landing on Sunder somehow, which was like an incredibly strong skill in Mercenary League for like playing through the campaign, it was it got to the point where the campaign for me took way too long. And I think that's the biggest problem with PoE 1 is that if you're a new player and you don't understand like, to how to optimally play through the campaign or you've never watched someone like kind of tell you how to do it, it can end up taking like 20 hours plus for a new player to get through it. And
Yep.
I think that's what really filters out people from PoE 1 is that like in order to get to the real meat and potatoes of the game, the end game where like you can just play for hundreds and hundreds of hours. You have to suffer through this campaign that everyone just like, leap slam frost blinks through and tries to get their time down. And that's what I didn't understand at the beginning as a new player. I didn't realize that like I wasn't supposed to be full clearing zones and like I was exploring and playing like PoE 1's campaign like PoE 2's. Trying to find these secrets and stuff like that. And so yeah, that's really for me. Like whenever I tell people to, who are getting into the game, I say like learn how to get through the campaign as quick as possible because that's going to actually help you stay playing the game when you get to the end game.
I don't know if I would agree with that. I think that the campaign is pretty similar to PoE 2 in terms of length. PoE 2 also takes a while, right? Sure, PoE 2's campaign is better, but PoE 1's campaign is not the problem, I think, why people quit. The thing why people quit is because there's no tooltips. You don't actually, like, for example, you played slams. You probably didn't understand how war cries work and what your actual scaling is and what the hell is going on. So I think most
Yeah.
people get, yeah, most people get to the point where they're just confused, and then it just feels like you're doing random things, and that's where it stops feeling good, right? And then you're like, I don't know how I scale. I don't know how I get anywhere. So I think it's just that part of confusion where, yeah, a guide would probably hold your hand a little bit and get you through that, and then you can maybe start snowballing from there and learning on your own. But if you don't get any tools, I mean, you're not going to put the nail in the wall, right? So I don't know.
100%. Yeah, I remember on my first playthrough, I didn't realize that there was, like, teleport skills until, like, I got to Act 6, and I was like, "Oh, like, I can buy, like, Flame Dash here." Like, I could have been using Frostblink since, like, level 6. Like, oh my god,
Yeah,
like, I've been just, like,
and
slow
they
walking through
could
the
just
whole
introduce a
thing.
quest.
Yeah.
They could do a quest where it's like, go to the vendor and do this, or go to craft an item for this character, right? They could build that into the whole. Yeah, they just, even the help menu and everything, it's there, but that's not how you teach people. People don't want to read; they want to be taught by doing, right? Like that's what PoE 2 does so much better, and that's why, yeah, I think PoE 2 is just has a lot better. I think that PoE 1 deserves the rep that it gets, and it is hard to get into. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Um, I do think though that like there is an insane interest in PoE 1. Like from somebody who again is from the PoE 2 community, there's so many people from my community who come into my stream and they, I'm playing a game that, people aren't used to me playing, but they're still like, "Oh, like, you know, I would love to play this game, but." There's always this like but. And I think a lot of it comes down to like I think we've been conditioned now by like the WASD movement. For a lot of people, like that kind of feels like it's the modern way to play like an ARPG. For me, it's never been the case because I played since, Diablo 2 and click to move has always been like a part of my
I
like
like it as well.
yeah, I
Yeah.
like it and it works
Mm.
really well. But I do think though that if like Grinding Gear Games ever decided to, and I don't know if they plan on doing this ever, but if they ever decided to like re-rig stuff and do WASD, like they could see numbers that would rival PoE 2 league launches. Like, let's say they, for 3.29, they do like a good league mechanic, like something that's as good as Mirage or something, and they give us WASD. Like, there's going to be so many people that like play PoE 1, not necessarily stick around because, there still is that all the other things to learn. But like, dude, it's crazy that that determining factor could like really bring a lot of people in,
Yeah, I think WSD is a big deal, and they have talked about it, and they're gonna port it over eventually. I don't know, like I think they talked about whenever they update the engine or whatever. But I don't know if that's the reason. Like I said, I also think that most people don't have time to play that many RPGs, right? Like it's such a time commitment every single time,
Yeah.
and most people are not just ARPG players. They also want to play, I don't know, Fortnite or whatever. 10 different genres. Like I play other genres as well. I have the privilege of being able to play a lot of video games all day. So yeah, you have to make do with your time, and usually you have one game that you really like. And like I said, PoE 2 has I mean, it has a good system. It has a good system. If I give a new game to people, I would also definitely choose PoE 2 as the first ARPG experience, 100%.
For sure. And there's tons of people that have that. Like it feels like it's this generation of new ARPG players Diablo 2. Like for me and so many other people who grew up like, in the 90s and, early 2000s, like that was the ARPG that we all sunk our teeth into first. And it's crazy to hear that, that's what a lot of people are experiencing now with Path of Exile 2. As sort of a side question, I'm curious to hear your answer on this. So let's just say, like, you have a week off and you have nothing to worry about. Do you have a game that's been on your back burner that you've been really meaning to play it that you just haven't played before? Like, what if Palliser had a week off to just play a
You're gonna
game,
kill me.
no strings
You're
are
gonna kill
attached?
me.
Tell me, what
You're
is
gonna
it?
kill me. I still haven't played Baldur's Gate 3.
There it is. There it is, dude. We're on the same page. I haven't also played Baldur's Gate 3. Maybe we should start a
Really?
campaign
Okay.
together. Yeah, dude, I haven't played that game and I haven't played Expedition 33. Like two of the like probably the greatest games in the last like 10 years, basically. So those would
Yeah.
be probably my two. Yeah.
Yep.
Damn. Yeah.
I think your
Okay.
chat is canceling me now. It's over.
It's okay. I've already been canceled in their eyes because they're still like, bro, you haven't played Expedition 33 like yet? Like you're crazy.
Same,
Um,
yeah. Same.
but that's just again being too into ARPGs. I feel like that's what I blame it on anyway. Um,
Yeah.
But dude, okay, so walk me through how you felt about PoE 2 as it was sort of becoming more of a thing. I'm curious to hear this because a lot of people that I've talked to, especially people who've been playing PoE1 for a long time, it kind of went both ways. Some people were optimistic, some people were super skeptical. Where did you find yourself along those lines?
Um, that's a tough question. I usually just take it as I get it. And I in 0.1 I felt kind of like, okay, this is starting. 0.2 I felt a little bit disappointed, and then zero point 0.3 and zero point 0.4 kind of went up. For me, it was a little bit of a ride. So a lot of people don't know this if they haven't been playing PoE1 before, but the reason why a lot of PoE1 players were kind of disappointed at the start was because um, PoE1 had 11 months of no league, which has never happened before. So that was a little bit of a letdown for a lot of people, and then it followed up by a pretty mediocre PoE2 league. So it was a weird, I don't know, segment of, I guess, this whole spiel, and there was a lot of drama involved as well, which was funny, like the PoE1 PoE2 divide, which was a little bit weird. But in general, I just want PoE2 to be good, and for me, it's less of a question of what I want. It's more like I want the dev's vision to overlap with what I like to play mostly. I don't have any other like wants or anything like that. Yeah.
Okay, as a sort of like follow up. So essentially,
I
with the
guess I didn't
game,
really answer the question, but can you maybe hone in a little bit more?
no, you did, you did. I'm gonna ask you another sort of follow up to this that maybe might shed some more insight. So, like the vision for the game was obviously supposed to be initially that it was an expansion for PoE1. Um, and that was supposed to include all of the content in PoE1 as well. And I think a lot of people were upset at the choice to make it a second game because essentially, like, they are starting from scratch again. And even like, Chris Wilson was saying, like, it would feel like an empty shell of an action RPG if we did this, if we made it a second game and competed with our own first game. Alongside of that, the game itself, especially early on in 0.1 and 0.2, had this sort of like slower feel to it. It still very much does, but I don't think it is as slow anymore. Like, what were your thoughts on sort of like the slow aspect? Before even sprinting was in the game, did you fuck with it, or were you kind of like this is not like the PoE that I'm used to?
I definitely had to adapt, but like I said, I play RPGs. I play normal RPGs as well, so I don't really care as much about the speed as much as I care about the feel. The game feel was pretty good. What felt off to me is the speed versus the surroundings, right? Like it's not really just about how fast you feel; it's about how fast you feel and how big of a map you are. And the maps were hard to maneuver. I don't know where the hell I am. I mean, the layouts are in PoE2 IMO is probably the weakest point alongside, I guess, Endgame that the game has. And it's hard for me to put on point. I'm not a dev, but it feels off. I don't know where I am. There's no like milestones. Like for example, what these maps often do is they have certain things in certain positions, so you kind of can orient, and that is not there in a lot of them. It just feels like empty, and then you have to run them because you can't skip them, or you have to path around it. For me, the speed is like one of the least problems personally, and you can usually solve it. So I'm not one of those PoE1 guys that's like super butthurt about like speed or anything like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah, I know that like sort of one thing that you've mentioned in the conversation, which I also love about these games too, is problem solving. Right now, it feels, especially after like sinking my teeth more into PoE1, there are so many more problems to solve, but in a fun way. Like, for
Yeah.
instance, like how your Atlas tree interacts with like your specific map content, and like how you can like actually like format like multiple different like ways that your atlas is laid out, and like how you can use scarabs to like really customize your experience. And it feels like it's sort of like, you know, just a showcase of like the amount of flexibility that PoE1 has. Then actually kind of retrospectively looking back at PoE2, they've made a bunch of choices that are sort of restrictive. And I wanted to get your take on like how you feel about sort of the problem solving in PoE2. Like what I mean by that is like, do you feel like the skills might be a little bit too restrictive, like, based on like stuck with them being locked to weapons? Like, what are your thoughts with the restrictiveness of the game?
I would say that PoE2 isn't as bad as some people make it out to be in terms of problem solving. There's a lot more restrictions, as you say, and it feels like when I'm trying to be creative or whatever you want to call it, I butt a lot of heads with like it's very clear that the devs knew that somebody would step into this direction, and then
Yeah.
they said nope, and then you go here and it's like nope, and it's a lot different in that sense than PoE one. It's a lot more of a controlled environment. The thing that that I dislike the most about that sort of design is there's still gonna be bugs, and now those cool builds are just all gonna be bugs. And I don't like that because I want to have a framework, like a rule set that I can follow, like in PoE 1. And if I follow that rule set, I can find broken stuff, right? If I just think around like two corners. But in PoE 2, it often feels like, oh, so this skill procs 10 times more energy than it should. So it procs a million comets versus the other skills. And it's like, yeah, but that's clearly a bug because I know how the energy system works. And it's like, okay, so, and then I want to play like warrior totems. And oh, by the way, warrior totems have an inbuilt 0.6 second animation time, which doesn't say anywhere. So the build is bricked. So there's so many weird things where builds still come out to be OP, but they're not the builds that you actually think about. It's more like bug testing. It feels like a little bit like in D4. D4, if you're a build maker in D4, you go to the dummy and you check if Blizzard actually made every power the way it's worded, or if there is an outlier that's bugged. That's D4 build making, for example. And it gets kind of in that direction, and it's kind of frustrating. But as a whole, to get back to the discussion, the passive tree is okay. It's way too vast. There's so much bullshit on the passive tree, but that's fine. Like none of those things I really think are fundamentally a problem for Period 2 because it has so many good dev builds, as I said earlier, builds that are just good packages. And most people shouldn't care about, oh, I need to make something creative, right? It's mostly just like you have to feel like it's your own. You're like, oh, I'm gonna play plants. Ooh, I'm gonna take this and that, and that's how far it goes. And the rest is just end game, right? Like actual how fun is the gameplay? I think they should first focus on that and then hone in on the rest. As well as that, the problem with balancing right now and thinking about problem solving and whatnot is there's still so many classes to come out. And whenever a new class comes out, everything shuffles again. Like what is powerful will change whenever there's a new ascendancy out, right? So I don't really think it matters. Literally all that matters right now is that you have fun playing endgame and that your skills feel responsive. They actually do what they say. And that's that. And everything else after that, they can adjust. That literally endgame and layouts and stuff like that is all that matters to me right now.
I think you made a really great. Well, you actually made a bunch of really great points in your answer, but to kind of acknowledge the first thing you mentioned, where you talked about some of the most fun and oftentimes strongest builds in PoE 2 thus far have always been bugged interactions, but they were incredibly fun. Like, yeah, like as you mentioned, like energy generation through specific skill interactions resulted in a shit ton of comets, which ended up being the meta for 0.4 for a lot of people. And it raises a very tough argument, and I do not envy GGG at all for this because, as you mentioned, like it results in a lot of these like pretty good like dev builds, we'll call them, or like builds on rails is another thing that I hear a lot. A way that people describe these builds where it's good for people who are just getting into the game that don't even need to potentially follow a build guide. Like we brought up like the talisman, which was another thing that was added with regards to PoE 2 in the last update. Like the talisman is it's such an easy weapon to build off of because the skills that you have access to when you put it on essentially just work seamlessly together. Like you mentioned playing the wolf,
Very
for example.
narrow.
Yeah, you just if you want to play the wolf build, you put on all of the wolf skills and you have a wolf build. And it actually works really, really well. Like I think a common opinion that I agree with is that the wolf build feels like how I guess this combo gameplay should feel, like where you're actually using shred to make ice crystals and then cross slashing, and it actually all just works seamlessly together. But the problem with this is that it doesn't like allow for flexibility. It doesn't allow for like more creative interpretation, like which is what I think a lot of people who are coming from the PoE 1 side of things like about PoE 1, where you can take something that maybe exists and completely change it, convert all damage to lightning from cold somehow, and then scale that and do weird shit with your build. And so I feel like that's kind of what's missing with PoE 2 right now is like we have these great builds that are great for people who are just jumping in who maybe don't even need a build guide, but that's kind of where it stays for a lot of things.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, that is frustrating for me as well. It's just I don't think without having all the classes out and having kind of a baseline for what to even balance, it's that important.
Mhm.
I even said this when Lightning Spear came out and everybody was playing Lightning Spear. I don't think right now it's really an issue that there's one build that's just OP. I don't think any of that is right now is an issue. The issue for me right now is I make a build, I get to end game, and I don't want to play anymore. I actually do have fun opening PoB and making a passive tree and everything and thinking about my gems. I just get to end game and I don't want to play the game. That's my issue right now. If that's solved, the rest for me is all min maxing. But I'm also somebody who has fun in all sorts of ARPGs. So maybe I'm not the right person to ask. I have fun playing Last Epoch. I have fun playing D4 here or there, right? I don't need every game to be a 10 out of 10. I don't need every game to be PoE 1 level for me. I like the variety, right? So I think that's min-maxing that will come way later once the structure of the game is kind of set, once we have an end game perspective, once we have all the classes out, and then we can think about, oh, maybe there's too many guardrails, as you said right here. I think for the time being, it's great that they clearly thought about this from PoE 1. It's very clear that PoE 1 doesn't have enough guardrail builds or builds on rails, you said, right? As PoE 2 has, and those are great, and that's a good structure to build upon. And now it's just upon like fleshing out the end game and then put out all the classes, and then we can start. Because PoE 1 at the start wasn't all that complex either. There wasn't that much like min-maxing or problem solving either. It just comes with content and content and content and like layer upon layer upon layer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when it comes to like end game, I think right now, of course, has been the best place that the end game has been in PoE 2. Like we've seen pretty big strides over the last like year or so. There's definitely a lot more to be desired, and I'm super excited about zero point 0.5, especially with like the changes that were supposed to come in 0.4. For yourself, like what are some things that you are like kind of like must sees in the end game for PoE 2 to help you want to play through this more? Is it just content or is it more than that?
I think it's just content. It's just the feeling of freshness, right? Like you want to have an ARPG where you get in the runner's high, right? Like you don't even know that the hours go by.
Yeah.
You're just in your zone. That kind of feeling. And I don't really have that right now because there's a lot of thinking involved, and at every step of the way, it's almost exhausting to a point, at least to me. And so that feeling I don't like, but I also think that 0.4, while it was really good, and the temple is a great step, it's sort of like a band-aid because the base mapping system has to be fun. Right now, maps are just there to give you progress for your temple. It's like that's clearly not
Yeah.
a good idea.
Yeah.
Like it should be fun to just intrinsically do maps. And that was also a problem in PoE 1 until recently, where you had to add all that content on top of PoE 1. I don't know if you heard about like the whole discussion about ground loot, if you watched the videos or whatnot.
I never watched the. Are you referring to the specifically the calendrification video?
Yes,
Or yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
oh, I
Kind of
missed
like
out on that one. But if you want to give a quick
I would
synopsis for
really
people,
encourage
yeah,
you to watch that because a lot of that is also applicable to PoE 2, where PoE 1 had this issue where they had a really good loot system, then they made a patch that was really intrusive, and they never really dialed it back. But they had band-aid after band-aid after band-aid, just like Temple, right? Where everybody's distracted, everybody's only doing Temple, only doing that. But the baseline mapping experience was just not really that great. And the loot that dropped was not really that fun. And I feel like they just have to tackle that immediately. And yeah, a lot of the frustration of PoE 2 for me, and this is really hard to explain to somebody who started with PoE 2, is just to understand how good GG is at what they're doing, right? Like the expectations are so high because of how good they are at what they're doing. They're so good at this, right? Like the expectations should be so much higher, and they can do this, and that's why it often overlaps where PoE 2 players who started with PoE 2 are very happy with what's going on, and then other people are kind of pushing back, and that's why when you talk and you say this is how it is in PoE 1, it comes across as very combative, but it really isn't. It's just to show how good they can be at their best, right?
dude, they can cook, man. And I think for
Yeah.
me, when I like fell in love with the game, it wasn't just PoE 2 that I fell in love with. It was like the company, because I'd never like been introduced to a company that felt like it was so and is so in touch. And I know they even were more so in touch with their player base prior to me even starting to play PoE 2. But It just felt like they really cared, and care about their community and listen and make changes and, like, it felt like a if you were, like, part of the player base, you have, like, a voice in the game, which is cool, and also, like, the amount of value that GGG can give, like, I remember playing, 500 hours in zero point 0.1 on an early access game, and I played a lot of early access games, some of them, were all not great, and some of them were good, but, like, PoE 2 for me was like I had never played an early access game where I got like that much value, like paying the $30, getting the multiple quad tabs or whatever you buy with your 30 like 300 coins plus the game on top. It was like, whoa. And then what
Yeah.
really stuck out to me, dude, was the Dawn of the Hunt update. Like I think that despite it being very controversial and widely like negatively received, like the amount of content they put into the Dawn of the Hunt update felt to me like something that I would have to pay extra money for from other companies. Like, and this is coming from a brand new player's perspective. I was like, what? Like, there's a new class, there's a new weapon, there's new like mechanics, there's new items, there's new maps. Like, all this shit is coming in a game that, you know, like is still in early access. Like, this is crazy. So, I'm very confident that in like GGG, based on like the last year of like what they have in their track record, and I know like like dude, they are incredibly good at what they do for sure.
I mean, for me, there's no doubt. Like, I don't really have. I guess I don't have the urgency as a lot of other people do. I've made my critique videos about PoE 2 before, as you know, but it's not like I'll be here whenever the game becomes something more akin to what I like. Right now, I enjoy the game. I play it for like a week or two, and I'm not really at the point where I'm passionate enough to make like great content. My content is very much the more passionate I am, the better it gets. My content is like okay right now in PoE 2. I want to get into a point where I'm super stoked and excited to learn everything about the game. And I feel like the game can get there, and it's just a matter of time. So for now, I'm just sticking around, staying on ball, and yeah.
So speaking of matter of time, like we have ExileCon coming up this year. A, are you attending ExileCon? And B, what do you think the big announcement is that they're going to be hosting ExileCon for?
So I got recently invited last minute, or like on the second wave of invites. I got invited by them with like flight and everything. So that's pretty cool.
Nice,
So we'll
dude.
be attending. Yeah.
That's
So we'll
amazing.
be attending. Thanks.
Uh,
I think the Discord is a little bit. The audio is a little bit robotic right now.
oh, really? Okay. It sounds good on my end. Maybe it might be lagging on your end, perhaps. We'll just keep it rolling. Hopefully, it's not too messed up.
Okay.
But yeah, so we'll get to meet each other because I'll also be heading over there, which is excellent.
Hell yeah.
I'm very excited to go, even though it's like very far journey from Canada. It's like 30 plus hours and two flights, but
Same for me.
it's worth it,
Same for me.
bro. Yeah, like I feel like for me, whenever I was a kid, I was like super into Blizzard games, of course, and BlizzCon was always like the convention that I was like, like I want to go so bad. I want to like meet my WoW guildies and like see what's going on in the world of Blizzard because it was just such an impactful company. But I was too broke and too young to ever go and experience like a game convention. And so now, like that, I'm so in love with like Path of Exile and like grinding your games and stuff. It's like it feels like one of these like events that I can finally actually make a reality. So I'm excited, dude. Did you ever go to like any big game conventions before, like or this one, or?
Not really. I usually keep work and IRL very separate. I try to as much as possible. So not really. No, it's a new thing for me completely. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's gonna be so sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think's coming, man? Because I think the general consensus is they're going to release 1.0 or they're going to announce 1.0. I think a lot of people believe that 1.0 for PoE 2 is going to be coming out sometime in the winter, like Christmas patch or something like that. Do you think that's accurate, or do you think that the game has a lot more to go still before 1.0 should be even thought about?
Well, they did say that 1.0 is going to release possibly without all classes. So yeah, I can see it. I don't know if it actually matters. It matters obviously for the marketing, but in terms of what is being worked on in the game, whether it's 0.6, 1.0, I mean, I don't really think it matters. I think that there will be 1.0. I can't really see them making an ExileCon. Usually the way they do it is they make an ExileCon every 3 to 4 years. So if they're not releasing it right now, why are they doing an ExileCon? Is my thinking, right? Like it's not going to come out in 4 years. So yeah.
That's my thought too. I'm hoping that there's also some like big news with regards to PoE 1 as well to like go along with it. But I do think that personally, like the main focus is going to be like 1.0 for PoE 2. And like, I think you're absolutely right. Like they have been very vocal about like the game doesn't need to have every class as long like as they have every like act in the game. Like, what does it matter if it's like 0.7 or 1.0? Like,
Yeah.
it's still gonna be we're still gonna play it. It's still gonna have like, whatever. Some people think
They're in it
P
for the long haul, right? So who cares? Yeah.
100%, dude, 100%. Yeah, it's just like, I don't really know where PoE 1 was at when 1.0 dropped, but if I'm not mistaken, I don't even think like the whole campaign was done yet when PoE 1 like 1.0 dropped, right? Like, and
I didn't
so
play
yeah.
then. I didn't play back then, but yeah, I think that's what it was. And then Act 4 came out later, and Malachi came out and whatnot. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And the I mean, I was playing when the acts fully came out. So they first had the first 4 acts, and then they released Act 5 to 10. There's still like YouTube highlights about when that happened. That was 3.0. So yeah, that was hype. That was way later. Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like with that in mind, like they're totally fine with like, getting the game to a point where they feel like they're comfortable calling it like 1.0 without it actually even being complete. So I think all signs point to yes, but dude, I'm so excited for ExileCon, man. Like I can't believe that, it's gonna go down like that. And yeah, it's very, very exciting. What another thing that's very exciting is just zero point 0.5. And I think that zero point 0.5 for me is probably the most important patch that PoE 2 is going to see. I think prior to this, I think zero point 0.3 was the most important because it was coming off of like Dawn of the Hunt, which was just like a very rocky road for GGG. I think it was like their worst patch ever or something like that. But
Yeah.
zero point 0.5, it feels like, for most people, the end game, not just yourself, but the end game has been the biggest like point of contention for the game. Like, because they do have a great campaign. But yeah, a lot of people burn out and don't even want to play the end game right now, even with like the additions that they've made. Like, do you think that the Infinite Atlas system is going to stay in the game, or do you think that they're going to completely deviate from it?
I think they're gonna double down or triple down at this point on the Infinite Atlas because i- it's so hard to make another end game that isn't PoE 1 because PoE 1 is just so min maxed. It's just so like you have to over 40 patches. It has just been made better and better and better over time. It's almost hard to find a reason not to just go PoE 1. So they have to diverge from that. And I'm not saying they should do a PoE 1 endgame, by the way. I'm not one of those people. I would love if they explore this a little bit further. The way I currently see it, it just doesn't really work out because I think they should embrace the kind of board game aspect of it all. So, for example, why is there no, okay, you complete a map and you get like a move or something? You can jump over a map that you don't like, for example, like very rudimentary, and manipulate the Atlas that way. Like, why not be a little bit more playful? Even games like Wolfson had interesting like city builder endgame in their ARPGs. Like, if you wanna not be PoE 1, that's gonna be really rough. You have to invent. You have to be like very outgoing. You have to try new stuff. So I would love if they just did goofy stuff with that. I think that's the only way it's going to work out because otherwise it's gonna be PoE 1 in a few patches, and I don't think anybody wins by it doing that either way. So
No, I love that. I love that idea. I love that answer. I think they should double down because I don't, and I don't know if this is a hot take or not, guys, but like I do think it's very close. Like I think that it's not there right now. Clearly, there's a lot of problems with the Infinite Atlas. I think it all comes down to agency, and the problem is that it's always going to be compared to PoE 1. And as we mentioned previously, like there's just the agency in PoE 1 is insane. Like you can really just tailor your experience to whatever you want. And so I think there's always going to be that sort of like looming in people's minds where they're like, why can't I like tailor this more? Um, I do think though that like there is a way to give agency over the Infinite Atlas idea while still having this sort of like, as you mentioned, like this board game style or this like exploration style. There's just right now a little bit of what an imbalance between like no agency or a very minimal agency and also just like not a lot to search for in the Atlas too. And that's gonna, they've said that's gonna be fixed with time, obviously. Like the more shit is in the atlas, the more fun it's going to be to actually traverse through it. But hopefully, and I don't know what they're planning on doing in 0.5, but hopefully they give us a way to like actually tailor the experience in some way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I don't necessarily agree that we're close or that adding more stuff would really fix it. But I do see what you're saying, and I just really hope they're experimenting, like, because otherwise we're just gonna default back to PoE 1, and it's like, because right now what the PoE 2 Atlas is just a worse version of PoE 1, and
Yeah.
they could go into a direction where it isn't that, it's actually something completely different, right? And that's why it's kind of weird, because I can't say, I know people don't like when I say, but it's this way in PoE 1, but they're literally like currencies are named the same
Yes.
and layouts are named the same. It is like it just begs the comparison. There's just nothing else I can say. And like I said, I think they have to be goofy, and I think they should be very inventive, and I think they should try everything they can to keep it interesting. And PoE 1 just had a rework as well, an Atlas rework, and it was very well received. Because guess what? Change is good. Change is fun. And even if it doesn't work, it keeps everything fresh. Yeah, and as you said, you had this experience where you couldn't believe how much new content there is in a free to play game, and they can deliver on that. They're very efficient in terms of like output, but I hope they can nail the base atlas, and I hope they rework the layouts. I have no idea. I could be talking about layouts for hours, but I don't think I'm qualified to do so. It's just I just don't have fun traversing endgame maps in PoE 2 right now. It's so weird. It's so weird.
I know what you mean, man. I think the layout issue is something that I've kind of struggled with where it just feels like they tried to make the atlas as populated as they can. So they put in a lot of maps that had no business being in the atlas.
Yeah,
Like they put in a
yeah,
bunch of stuff to be like, look, we have like 80, maps that you can run right now. And it's like, but yeah, but like 20 of those are maps that no one ever wants to go into. It's gotten
yeah.
better. Like they have revised a lot of the layouts to make them better, but there's still some that are
Agreed.
just like, mm-mm, like please remove
It's
those. Yeah.
it's funny because people always talk about like Augury, for example, as being an annoying map, but I think Augury is actually a perfect example of a good map. It's like you go in and you know what's going on. There's the things you click on, the altars or whatever, and then in the middle there's the boss,
Yeah.
and you kind of know where you are. You kind of know the theme. It's its own place. Even though I don't love the layout, that's not the point. The point is it's distinct. It's not just a mash of endless hug the wall, or in this crevice you actually have to go through this crevice, and in the fog of war you didn't see it and now you have to backtrack, and there's 7 checkpoints, right? That's the issue. And that's, if you go through the PoE 1 atlas, all of these maps are very distinct. Even the ones you don't want to do, you know what's going on, kinda, right? So that's what I mean, I guess.
100%. And I think like I'm glad you brought up Augury because Augury was one that has been improved like quite significantly in terms of size and also mechanics. Like I don't know if you remember this, but like the actual like devices that you had to like interact with were like these
Yeah,
like big
you got stuck.
wheels. Yeah, and you were like animation locked for like 3 seconds while you were doing it. And like so as we mentioned, like player feedback. Now it's like you touch the red crystal and the door opens up, and then you know exactly where the boss is. And they've done that a bunch to like certain maps. Like even Val Factory is another one that like basically was terrible before. This was before boss killing was actually part of map completion, and so it just felt like rough to go and traverse through it. And now it's actually like a map that I look forward to like doing because you basically it's just a straight shot right to the boss, and you can clear the content on the way and around afterwards if you want to. But I
Yep.
do think though that like when Act 5 and Act 6 come, a lot of these, like, I guess, undesirable, we'll call them. I don't want to call them bad, but we'll just call them undesirable maps will probably get replaced. I hope that they don't just like continually stack on and stack on and stack on because I think that even what I'm discovering with PoE 1 is that despite there being like less desirable maps, they actually function really well for specific content. Like which is something that I haven't really experienced in PoE 2. Like for instance,
Yeah.
the farm I'm doing right now works really well in Haunted Mansion, which normally wouldn't be like a farm that or like a layout that I would want to do necessarily. But the way that it interacts with Brian's Strongbox's Mirage, it actually makes that map great. And so I'm hoping to see that apply more to PoE 2 as well.
The only way this could apply is if you had agency of what map you're running, right? Because right now the way it works is that is not a point of your farming strat at all. You're just doing whatever random map comes up. If we're being completely honest, I mean, you can kinda with the tile that you're in, right? But not really. So yeah, that comes back to what you said about agency, and I guess that's a hard one to fix because agency is good, but too much agency can also be confusing for people, and they do want the game to be a little bit more presentable towards new players. So yeah, but I think stuff like layouts are just too important to make them completely random. IMO.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. Right now, it kind of feels like you have to adjust what you're doing based on the map and not the other way around where you're doing stuff based on what like you're doing maps based on what content you want to do. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it is basically like the opposite kind of a PoE1 in a certain degree, which is it's tough because it as you said, it does feel different. Like it definitely feels like sort of a deviation from the way they handle things in PoE1. But at the same time, it's like it doesn't feel good to always just be at the mercy of RNG. Like there's already so much RNG in the game already. Like it's just like, damn, now I have to like do my content based on whatever layout I get. It's just like so yeah, hopefully they figure that out in 0.5. Is there anything else that you want to see? Like QOL stuff, maybe like some specific features like as ideas that you have before we move on.
I guess one I'm just adding to what you just said before we move on. I also really like that if you can pick your layout, you can customize your build towards it. So there's
Yes,
a lot of
dude.
builds that thrive indoors, right? They have explosions whenever they explode into walls. So if you could always do indoor maps, those builds would thrive. Or AoE builds that thrive in outdoor maps. Those all factor in, and you don't really think about them until you don't have the agency. And that's why it was such a crash in PoE2 where I was like, I was okay, my build sucks indoors, it's good outdoors, but it's not like I can choose, right? So it's like that's another thing. Sorry to cut you off there.
No, I think that that's a wonderful addition to this. Like another thing, I feel like I'm just learning so much over the last like 2 weeks, and I'm sorry that like you're probably like, oh, place like I already know all this stuff. Like I've been playing the game for so long, but for me as a new player, it's like it feels really cool to be able to tailor your build to content. And right now, I think the closest we get to that in PoE2 is like if you want to farm like Sekimas, like specifically like doing like no hit runs for like Temporalis and stuff, you have to have like a
Yeah.
very specific build to accomplish that farm or that content. But otherwise, it's just like, we have these like jack of all trades builds that can do everything. Like if your build can do juice temple and kill bosses in 2 seconds, you can do every piece of content in the game. And yeah, like I really like how in PoE1 there's like, and we're gonna get there, I'm sure. Delve is another like way you can build your character super tanky, do some strength stacking stuff, and like that's your delve build, so I'm very confident that we're gonna see that in the future because yeah, it's very fun to have, and it just adds more longevity to the game, right? You're building new characters for new purposes, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
So is there anything that stands out to you as something you're looking forward to the most with regards to like a class? Like, I don't really know what your like favorite class fantasy is. If you're more of a melee guy, caster guy, or are you pretty varied? Like, what are you looking forward to the most with regards to like upcoming stuff for PoE2 in terms of that?
I'm pretty varied in general. I want to know what the spin to win is going to be like with swords, because I'm assuming swords is going to have like a cyclone-esque ability. So maybe I want to see that. Um, but in general, I'm pretty much a chameleon. I just kind of adapt to what's happening in the game. Kind of always like to play that way. Um, I like that they look a lot more at what's thematic in PoE2. It gives me a little bit of RPG vibes, even as the most cynical, hardcore gamer, or whatever you want to call it. It is nice to have a little bit of a coherence, and yeah, it just I'm looking forward to all the classes. Honestly, there's not really anything that stands out to me. Maybe the shadow, maybe traps and mines. I want to see what they do versus PoE1. I hope they can make it a little bit more like varied, a little bit more distinct.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think I'm the same way. Like a lot of people are like, "Oh, like I'm a melee player. Like I only play melee or I only play range or something like that." And like for me, it's always like I just want to try different shit. Like I just want to, I think the way I look at builds in ARPGs is kind of the same way I look at content where like I don't really actually know. I think I just enjoy just playing the game. I don't have like a specific way that I like to do things. That being said though, and I don't want to sound like a pessimist at all, but I feel like there is this romanticized um like a outlook on like certain things from PoE1, and it just scares me a little bit because I don't want them to have a new approach to something as beloved as like RF or Cyclone or something like that, and like have this passion that people have for it completely ruined by the way that they approach it. And so I really hope that they stay true to those specific skills while adding new things to the mix, just so it doesn't like, result in like, oh my God, they've ruined Cyclone or they've ruined Righteous Fire. Like, I really hope that and I'm sure they're aware of this, but that is a little bit of a fear of mine.
I think that's all just a balancing and numbers problem at the end of the day, and that's for me. Like I said, I'm I'm being a little bit it's a kind of a non-answer for me. But all this balancing stuff for me is something that comes once the game is like out and actually like realized everybody has fun playing, right? And then we talk about numbers and is the Cyclone skill doing enough damage? Is it comfy enough? For example, they just changed Whirling Assault. I'm sure you saw some of the builds. I
Yes.
think have you even? Yeah, I think you played it, right? Do
I
I
haven't
remember that?
tried Whirling Assault, but it looks amazing, and I've seen a
Oh,
ton of like really fucking sick builds with
last time.
it. Yeah, what about you?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I thought you were that was you. I saw somebody yeah, a lot of people tried it out. Some buddies of mine played it as well, and it was a great change. Welding is old now, feels great, and it's kinda like the closest we have to spin the win right now, and that skill was clunky as hell last league. So, they clearly understand, and they clearly have the tools to change a build from being unplayable to playable. So yeah, like I said, I'm, uh I'm kind of like a repeating pattern, but I don't want to give them. I just don't want to give them too much flack for those things. I really want them to focus on like the baseline stuff and just get the game going, kind of deal.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. Yeah, I think that they've made a bunch of adjustments to a lot of skills. I think Whirling Assault is one of them, where it was like they really cooked on that one because before it was like basically underused or very very like not fun to use, and yeah, now it's like actually like a really really viable skill. So I'm sure
Yep.
they're able to fix things. Before we move off of PoE 2 and get some more like lighthearted closing questions, I want to put you on the spot a little bit. Do you have any like really hot takes about either game that like kind of like I don't know, you hold true to yourself or, you get flack from your chat, like any hot takes that you'd care to share about either game?
So the thing I get the flack the most about in PoE 1 is probably I don't think you should ever be able to skip the campaign. Because it would destroy the integrity of the game, and it actually has a use case. It is part of your journey, and you figuring out how to efficiently get through the campaign, whether it's through Twink gear or normal stuff, is part of the experience and part of your skill set. And I've seen games like D3 where that gets completely evaporated, and it's only endgame, and it is also stale. And people always say that's like a privileged point of view because I have so much time to play. But I just think it's a philosophical. It's like if you think the first 70 levels of your character are useless, that's a perspective thing. IMO. That's something you should think about, and that's something that um, should be part of the build journey, and you should care about. I guess that maybe.
Do you hear that a lot in your circle or people who come into your stream are like kind of talking about, oh, I wish there was like a campaign skip? Like, do you think that like there's a large portion of people out there that are like, that is a thing I want?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's I think it's like one of those things where if you just peck away at everything that isn't the spread, like endgame in PoE2 is basically a spreadsheet and like oh currency per hour, and I think if you peck away at everything that isn't that spreadsheet, you actually make the game worse and you make it even more and more just I don't know. I just don't think it feels right. I don't think it's a game at that point anymore. I think stuff like the campaign has to exist, and it's also important for like the racer economy and people playing the game differently, doing Act 3 runs. I don't think it should be part of the experience, and it should be part of racers are good to get through the campaign, and you can pick up stuff from watching them and whatnot. I think that's a great part of the community. So I don't think being able to skip campaign is ever a good idea, ever.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp as you, and this is something that I've experienced in my like much smaller circle. I've had a lot of people who've come in and say like, "Blaze, I don't have a lot of time to play like PoE 2. The campaign is so long, like, I only can manage like one character per league basically, and I would play more if I could just get to the end game like quicker." And as much as I like understand those perspectives, I think like from what you've mentioned, I completely agree with. Like the campaign was something that I had to like dedicate time to improving, like in both games. Like I did the races in 0.1 and I watched like, Sarge 2 and Angormus like rip through the campaign. And that taught me so much about how to
Yeah.
like it saved me hours basically about playing the
It's also
campaign.
inspirational, right? It's like you
Yeah.
watch them and you're like, "I wanna be that." Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, like, as
Yeah.
you mentioned, it is a, like, cool part of both games is and that Grinding Gear Games has stayed true to, like, they probably had to deal with people requesting for this since, they started the game, like, skipping the campaign and whatnot, but I truly believe that it would invalidate, like, a large portion of the experience. Um, Not to say that, like, the PoE 1 campaign is perfect or the PoE 2 campaign is perfect, but there are milestones in both games that teach you about your character and your build. And there's also, like, a ton of cool items that have gone into being created as well to help you, like, progress through. And I think that those things are, like, the true, like, campaign skip, like, getting better at it and also learning, like, what items to do, like, what to use, basically. So it kinda does exist if you think about it, just not in the way that people want it, basically.
Yeah, like buy gear that get you through campaign in like 2 hours. Like you can do that in PoE 1, right? But I guess it also sets the tone for your progression. If you think about what's fun about PoE 1, if we do like PoE 1, PoE 2 comparison, one of the things that's the most fun about PoE 1 is you start at the beach and you get really fast. So when people say they like to be really fast, I think what they actually mean is the progression curve, right? You get so much faster than you are at the start, and you can see that progression very clearly. And in PoE 2, it's more like, oh, so I get to maps, and now all I have is upgrade from 30% move speed to 35, and getting like an extra 4% on the passive tree, right? Like there's not the feeling isn't the progression isn't there, and the campaign kind of sets the baseline for that. I feel like where you get a passive point every time, and it's fun, and you see your character get stronger, get faster, better attack speed, more projectiles, right? Like all of that. And if you take that away, I think it would it's one of those things where I would say the old Blizzard thing, you think you do, but you don't, right? But I think it would take away a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't particularly think this is a hot take. Maybe it is because there probably is, like, a pretty significant portion of players out there, who want to just shave off that whatever it is for them, like 12 hours or something like that, and I get it, like, that's like 2 days, 3 days for people, maybe even longer to, like, get through to, like, get to, endgame and whatnot, in PoE 2 anyway. I mean, in PoE 1, the first time I did the campaign, it took me, like, 20 hours, dude, like, it took me so long. But yeah, man, it's just like, it's a thing that you have to get better at, and that's something that I actually, really, really enjoy, and it's something that I kinda realized from my early days of playing, like, Diablo 2. Like, Diablo 2's campaign, you have to run 3 times basically to get to endgame, which is just farming the same bosses over and over again, but that's, like, instilled into me, and so, like, as somebody who's a little bit of a purist with that kind of mentality, I guess, I don't know, it just feels like, yeah, I've heard Jonathan, I think, say or Mark, in an interview, like, if people wanna skip the campaign, then we've done something wrong, so hopefully, like, they can just, like, adjust, because, yeah, I do think that despite not agreeing with the campaign skip, there are certain areas, like we talked about layouts, like, that are, like, problematic still that may result in that, like, I don't know about you, but if you've ever, like, watched a new player play either one of these games, but I watched my girlfriend play PoE 2 for the first time this year, and one thing that I noticed was that in PoE 1, it shows you based on your light radius, like the next entrance to a zone, like a lot further away than PoE 2 does.
Hmm.
So like when you're at the mud
Yeah.
flats, you can see like the exclamation marks pop up. Like basically when you get in there, you can see where you need to go. In PoE 2, it's like you can be like 5 meters away from something and not see it. And so
Do you
that
know the feeling you're in one of those layouts and you missed one crevice? You were hugging the wall, but you
yes.
missed one crevice, and you're on the other side of the map, and you're like, oh, I missed that one crevice, and that's where it's gonna be. And then you backtrack, and it's exactly there. Yeah, it's the worst feeling ever. Yeah, I agree. And that's yeah, you don't feel as lost, I guess. But that's a good observation. I didn't actually think about that yet. Yeah, that's definitely a part of it. Yeah.
And I think those like if that happens to you in like 3 or 4 maps, like back to back to back. Like she went from like the Grellwood to the Red Veil to the Grim Tangle, like the first 3 zones basically. And she was missing the things she needed to do by like meters basically, like not finding like the Red Veil shrines, not finding the Grim Tangle entrance. She was like, "How the fuck do you do this campaign in like 6 hours? Like it took me 6 hours to find these like 3 zones." And I was like, "Oh my god, like how do they not have this thing they have in PoE 1 where you can actually see further away?" So I really hope that that gets put into the game because that would just make, new players, experience the campaign in such a better way. Like, it's just rough out there if you don't know the layouts.
That's actually great. That's a great idea. Yeah, I might yoink that. Yeah, that's a really cool idea. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great, and I don't know if you can speak about this, but, like, that wasn't always the case in PoE 1, right? Like, PoE 1, like, was it always that, like, good in PoE 1 where you could see, like, how far away like, from far away the next area or the next, like, zone?
Not really. Not really. Most things also were not on the mini map. They just added that over time. So it's just, I guess it's just a mute point because like PoE 2, and that's why I guess some people are frustrated, is PoE 2 should have learned a lot of those mistakes. And it almost feels to me like sometimes PoE 2, that the PoE 2 team doesn't really know why PoE 1 is as good as it is and why it's so revered by people. And it should play just a little bit more to its strengths. I totally agree that PoE 2 endgame should be different, the game should be different, but a lot of those lessons, for example, what you just said, is just universal, right? Like it has nothing to do with the game having to be different. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, and I have folks who are, I'm not gonna name any names, but folks who are very much like PoE 1 Andes who are not the biggest fans of PoE 2 yet, and one of the reasons why they don't like the game a lot is because they're frustrated that they have to, like, relearn all of these, or not all of them, but many lessons again, it seems like, and so, yeah, hopefully, moving forward, they can sort of, like,
True.
adjust, of course, always, like, listen to feedback as they do, and I'm sure at the end of the day, like, all of these beautiful, like, QOL things are gonna make it into both games, which is super cool. Like, async trade for me, was something that completely made me hate trade before. I hated the experience of trade, and now playing in PoE 1, it's like async trade is fucking amazing. Like, this is I
To kind of connect that though, like
yeah.
what you said about them relearning all those lessons is also an upside sometimes because async trading, they used to have a trade manifesto in I think like 2020 where Chris Wilson talked about why they will never have async trading. And that was never on the menu, right? But they also rethought about that. So whereas yeah, there's a lot of lessons that they learned over the years that they've reverted on that are maybe not a good idea. They've also done stuff where 5 years ago I didn't think it would be possible. And guess what? We have instant trade and it's amazing. And I was also one of the people who was on the fence because I kind of agreed with the whole botting thing and whatnot. But it's more like a just give it to people and then iterate on how to fix the problems. And yeah, they redid their stance on that. So it has its good and it has its bad. So yeah, I hope they reconsider a lot of things. Sure, it's fine.
I'm happy, and I've heard from people who've had a lot more experience with GGG that like they have said that they are stubborn with some things, but they are becoming less stubborn about things. And I think like
Yeah.
async trade is just such a beautiful example of them like kind of shifting their perspective because it's just such a good change, man. Like it feels so it just gives you another reason to log into the game. I might be a trade Andy now, guys. I'm sorry. Moving forward, but
It just
yeah,
feels good.
it
The
does,
best thing
man.
is the best thing is when you're buying, for example, bulk maps, right? And you TP to somebody's hideout and you're trading and he has like a really good, really competitive price. And you see other people behind you porting in, and then you all want the same maps and you like competing for the clicks. And it's just like a game of that's pretty fun. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another way to play the game and enjoy the game, and I think that that's what makes, like, Path of Exile beautiful is because you can there's so many ways to enjoy it, which is very, very cool. Um, yeah, so we're kinda getting to more, like, lighthearted closing questions, so, another thing that I kind of fell in love with regards to PoE was just the community, like, I think that there is this sort of special sauce within the ARPG community, specifically within PoE 2 and PoE 1 that I've never really seen in, like, video games before, and I played a lot of games, a lot of, like, competitive games, and so there was always this, like, element of toxicity. Why do you think, like, the PoE community has sort of this, like, special sauce or, like, this special thing going on with it?
So the way you have to understand, or how you probably can understand the PoE community, is they're extremely helpful if you're a new player. Like extremely, extremely helpful. One of the best communities you can ever ask a question. Like you will ask a random question, and there's going to be 10 people writing you 5 paragraphs about it, right? And linking you 4 wiki articles, right? Because people are very passionate about the game. But once you are, for example, making a guide or you're making a build, that's where they're gonna be like, okay, credentials, credentials, credentials.
Yeah.
And that comes from just a long history of there's so much info about the game, and the game is very gatekeepy that yeah, like if you kind of want to inform people, there's also a weird stigma about like PoE 1 is very, I don't know, very unfriendly towards new players in the sense of the game itself, but people are very much concerned that oh, new players are going to get baited and then they're going to leave the game. It's very weirdly protective, motherly kind of thing. So I guess that's how you can kind of see it. So I don't know what it is. I think it's just that ARPGs are so demanding that you almost have to live in this world where at that point, yes, you are very much all in and you're very much interested with who's in your vicinity, who's populating your community. And so I think that just comes with the territory. It's like the more casual a game is, the more chill people are going to be, right? And the more competitive, quote unquote, it's not a PvP game, right? But trade is PvP. So the more like gatekeepy everything's going to be. I don't know. You can see this in ARPGs as well. Like D4 is way more chill. Like I make a D4 video and everybody's like, "Oh, thank you so much. That's a great video." I make a
Yeah.
PoE1 video. It's like, "Did you steal that from Buttfuck 521? I saw his video with 5 views and he made a Reddit thread about it. Why did you steal from this guy? What the fuck are you doing?" Also, this one passive point that you have, it makes no. It's like that's the PoE community, right? And it's just a lot more competitive that way.
Okay. I feel like you have a different perspective on this that I may encounter over time, but it feels a little bit different in PoE too. And maybe it's because of the on rails thing where it's like there are only so many interactions. Like there are still things that people are discovering. Like, Jung discovered the or the oil grenade incinerate, like weird ass bug mechanic that like just broke the game essentially, and like there's shit like that. But like it's hard to claim that people are stealing shit. And it feels very much so like people are like not like repurposing things, but being inspired by each other, I think is kind of the way they're looking at it. Like, you go on POB and you like look at someone's shit and like kind of tweak stuff. Why do you feel like PoE1 kind of maybe has a little bit of a different vibe going on with regards to that?
Because it's older. PoE2 will have the same phase. I don't think GGG is capable of making a basic bitch game. I don't think it's possible. It's in
Yeah.
their blood to
Yeah.
make a complex ass game. And the only people who can get into that game will be people who put a lot of time and effort in. And right now, the game is just very fresh. If you look at build guides, they're like all over the place in terms of quality. And that will just settle over time with people knowing what the hell they're doing. Because right now, most people don't have any clue, or they only know something very deliberate and very small inside the game. So the better people get, and the more layers and layers and layers complex it gets, the more competitive and gatekeepy people will get. That's just kind of I think what it is. Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't get too toxic or
That's
whatever because
crazy.
yeah, like I love the vibes right now, especially within the PoE2 space. Like it feels very much like people just want to help each other out. Um and speaking of like helping each other out, like I've actually had like a really great experience with just like people kind of like, showing love, like content creators and stuff like that. Like it's been a very like welcoming space with regards to that as well. Like when you were starting, did you have anybody that sort of like opened doors for you, helped you out, like helped you along your like journey, like growing and stuff like that?
In terms of content creators, yeah. So one of the first people I connected with was Milky, Milky BK,
Okay.
that I vibe with. And then a few people along the way. For example, MBX, because he's also from Austria. I connected with. He kind of connected me with Max Roll and whatnot. Um, so that kind of helped. But at the start, I'm not really all that networky, or I never really used to network. So not really. I was just in my own bubble, and like I said, I always try to disconnect my real life from like my online activities. So I don't really game that much with people online. I hang sometimes with my mods, but in general, it's very separated. So yeah, I'll definitely credit them. Also, Subtract them, who used to make content, gave me some boost early on. Um, yeah, there was some people along the way, but otherwise, it's just a give and take. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Like I think it's interesting. Like some folks kind of go at it with this I don't know, attitude where it's kind of like me against the world sort of thing. But for me, it was a lot easier, I guess, like network because of this like podcast, which was kind of like an unintentional blessing, I guess. Like it started off with me just like wanting to make more friends through PoE because I had this group of homies that we played a lot of like Counter Strike and stuff like that, but no one played ARPGs, and I wanted to like nerd out about PoE with people, and so like I just started this podcast and was like, "Yo, like let's yap about the game. And then it ended up like subcon or like not like I guess as a byproduct, it ended up just helping like a network and stuff. But it's been cool to like meet a bunch of people from like all different like paths and walks of life and stuff like that. And yeah, so I don't know. That's kind of where it's left a really positive impact on me because yeah, like everyone has been just like super passionate about the game and you love to see it.
Yeah, I guess we're maybe a little bit different than because I started out kind of I guess it's this weird lone wolf mentality where you kind of want to make it on your own. You
Right.
never want to be told that you made it because somebody helped you out kind of deal. I don't want to ask anybody for a collaboration because might think that I'm just out there to network. You just want to I'm very like old school. I believe in just putting good content out, and if it connects, then it connects, and if not, I'm just too shit to make money with it, kind of
Right.
deal, right? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of my perspective on it. And I never really took it that seriously. I took my content seriously, but I didn't realize what I've built or anything like that, right? Like I very much try to stay out of my head with that and just keep making content because usually when I realize that I'm successful, I get off the gas and then I become like maybe complacent or I'm scared that I get complacent. So that's why I didn't network all that much either or like schmooze with people or whatever, right? I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's a tough thing, to, like, mentally balance too, because I think the general, like, perspective on what successful is just different for everybody too. So it's, like,
Yeah.
hard to it's as a creative person, I feel like it's very hard for me to be, like, stoked on what I do ever. I don't know if you struggle with that as well or if you deal with that where it's like, even if I pour my heart and soul into my, like, best work, I'll, like, rip it apart in my head and be like, "Oh, there's so many things that are
Yeah, yeah,
wrong
yeah.
with this," like which I think is a good thing and a bad thing because it pushes you to be better always, like, you're not, like, gonna be complacent or rest, but it also is a bad thing because it's hard for you to just, like, accept W's when they happen, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
for yourself
Yeah.
even, like, you just hit, like, 100,000 subscribers, and that's an amazing achievement on YouTube, like, I think that's, like you get a plaque or something, right? Like, the YouTube sends you, like, a plaque or something, which is pretty fucking sick.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah,
Something like that.
which is amazing, and so, like, I hope that, like, moving forward, like, yeah, like, that just stays as a W in your mind, not like, I have so long to go, but, like, I've kind of, that is success. Yeah. I don't know what I'm
It's
trying to
just
say, but yeah.
it's just one step at a time, but what you said really resonates with me because I had like this discussion with an IRL friend recently where he said, "Yo, grats to the 100K. I saw it, blah blah blah." And my first reaction when somebody says that to me is always like to put myself down. I'm like, "Yeah, but I got lucky there, and this skill didn't get nerfed, and that's why I got this big break." And when it's always like pulling down yourself, right? And
Yes,
that's
dude.
like something you have to work on, and where you just like you said, sometimes you have to take the W's, and it's like, no, you've worked for this, and sure, you're not perfect, nobody is, but like you kind of you did a good job, kind of deal, right? And it's a hard balance because I think I'm somebody who, if I pat myself too much on the back, I'm gonna get complacent. So I'm very scared of that. But I don't think I don't think yeah. I think that's definitely something I have to work on as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough because I think for me personally too, it's like you don't wanna come off as like cocky or full of yourself. I think that's the way I look at it too. Like, I don't wanna, like, be relishing in, like, I don't know, the good because maybe I'm worried that it's gonna come off as, like, I don't know, not humble, and I always wanna be humble, but sometimes there's, like my homie, last year who I met up was like he's like, "Bro, you're too humble. You're like" he was like, "You're really fucking good at your art shit. Like, you need to own that." And I was like, "Oh." Like, I needed that, you know what I mean? Like, I am good at that shit. And so I feel like, yeah, like, obviously, like, own that shit, bro. 100K is a fucking big deal. Like, you're good at what you do, you know what I mean? And so,
I
as
think
hard as that is to
being
accept
humble,
sometimes, yeah.
yeah, being humble is rough. It's something that that does not pay off at all. I fight with this at all because if you're self-aware, it's really hard not to be humble because you know how easy it is to make mistakes.
Yeah.
So it's like the more self-aware you are, the less. So just don't be performative humble, I guess, right? Like that's maybe the lesson to learn, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. It's something that I think a lot of people struggle with. So if you're listening to this, guys, and you're like struggling with like, just like owning your dubs, just like, take a second to, yeah, it's like okay to pat yourself on the back. You know what I mean? Like it's hard because I think especially as like creators and like creative people, we're always going to be like looking at the ways to improve. And that's a good thing. Don't lose that. But also like, take a second to enjoy the good too, is all.
It's an interesting thing as well. I think about this a lot because let's, for example, say that you get negative comments. I'm sure you get it also all the time. I feel like people always tell you don't take them to heart, but I feel like if you're at the point where you don't take them to heart, you don't care enough anymore. You're also not going to make good content. Like you're already checked out. You should always be in tune what's going on. So it's a hard bargain in that sense, right? But at the end of the day, it's relatively to normal jobs. It's so fucking easy as long as you're having fun that you should strive towards making it work for you, right? It's just is what it is.
Yeah, the negative comments thing is tough because I think that with many other avenues of work or employment, you don't. There are. What I'm trying to say is there are very few situations in life that can put you at the mercy or at the vocal like allowing like hundreds or thousands of people to vocalize their thoughts to you publicly. Like I think that there's not very many I can't really like, if you're a celebrity or whatever, I think there's a relationship there. But so I think as like humans, and this might be a little bit too deep, but I'm gonna go here anyway. We're not used to being able to be like criticized by like hundreds or thousands of people. Like that's just that's
Yeah.
never been a thing in like
Yeah.
humanity, right? And
Yeah.
so having that be a thing for people, I think it's impossible to not let it affect you. Like I know that I've heard this too. Like my biggest amount of negative criticism came with my PoE1 video that I made last year because um, I
What'd
think
you make?
I'll send you the video, but essentially the video was a my experience playing PoE1 for the first time as a PoE2 player, and I played blind with no build guide. So that was like,
Mm.
um, I think
I might
it
have watched that actually. I might have watched that. Yeah.
I think it unintentionally rage baited a lot of people because it was my own like honest experience. And it was an experience that I did because I thought it would be interesting for people. Can a person who's only played PoE2 like succeed in PoE1? But at the same time, I was wrong about a lot of things because I decided to interact with the game a certain way. Like if I were to go back in time, I don't know if I would have made that video because playing PoE1 the way that I'm playing it right now allowed me to have so much more fun. I had still had fun before, but a lot of people were, I guess, frustrated with how I engage with the game because it's not the way that they would recommend to do it. You know what I mean? So yeah. What about you? Do you have like a video that like really resonated negatively with people or anything like that?
Mm. I made a video called PoE 2 out of 10 in patch 0.2
Yeah.
that, let's just say, had a lot of mixed reactions.
Is
I
that
thought
where
it was
that
a
came
fun
from?
meme.
Did you make that meme?
I mean, kinda. I thought it was a fun meme. I guess people thought I actually thought the game was a 2 out of 10, and they didn't thought it was too funny. I thought it was really funny. But, yeah, that video kinda popped off and had some very interesting receptions, let's just put it that way. So that's probably the biggest one. It's like, but at the end of the day, I don't know, it's just a feelings thing, right? I don't really believe in, oh, you're censoring yourself and you're not gonna put the video out. We just talked about having to take the W's. You also have to take the L's sometimes. It is what it is. Sometimes it resonates with people. I feel like once you think about too much what people like, you're censoring yourself, and then you're becoming more and more uninteresting and more of a vessel of just trying to figure out what people like, and that's what you're gonna say. So it also chips away at your authenticity to not post it. So I do like that you posted it. And I think you should have posted it because it's part of what you make. So I think
Yeah,
it's
no,
fine.
I think yeah, thank you. I think it probably needed to hear that because on one hand, it was my most successful video, and so like it got a lot of
There you go.
views, which is a
Well, this is
W in
another
itself.
thing, by the way.
Yeah, yeah,
This is another thing. The more, okay, the more eyes you have on you, the more critical voices you have, because the ratio is probably relatively the same. But if you have 100 views and you have one doubter versus 100,000 and you have 1,000 doubters, those 1,000 doubters will be way harder in your face. But it's the
yeah,
same ratio, right?
yeah.
So that's just what you have to realize, and you get, yeah, you get more and more scrutiny as well because you're getting bigger and bigger, and therefore you have more variety of views on the people that watch you. So I don't think you should fret too much, but I think you should care about what people have to say, and I think you should never stop reading your comments. And you have to sometimes take the criticism. If somebody is like an absolute asshole, then sure. I mean, you shouldn't take that too much to heart. But I think as soon as you have this fuck you mentality towards your viewers and it's an antagonism kind of, I think that's where you lose it then. At that point, it's the beginning of the end. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I have like a, as we sort of wrap up the conversation, I have like a funny kind of last point about that where during that video when I was experiencing like, the most amount of like negativity that I've ever experienced, there were a lot of comments that like I just like didn't bother responding to. But there were some that I did respond to. And I responded to them in a very not fuck you mentality way. Responded in a very like kind way, like in a very understanding way, trying to like, you know, I had never seen an influx of this many. I think the video has like 2,000 comments or something, which is like pretty absurd for my small channel. But um, and it actually resulted in people like changing their mind. Like it was like a um, not like I killed them with kindness, but kind of, or they're like, oh, like this guy's not an asshole. Like he had some things that I didn't agree with, and he's not a fucking dick. He was like actually like in the comments. He responded to me in like a nice way, like a kind way, and it ended up like not converting them, but they actually like ended up like subscribing and like going on Twitch and like following it. So it's like that. I think that type of stuff goes a long way too. And I don't know if you've ever like had those interactions happen, but it was pretty cool to see that.
No, for sure. I'm not really a killing with kindness kind of guy. I'm more like if you're coming this way at me, then I'll return the kindness, right? Kind of 1-to-1. So that's more me. I think that it's a hard line to draw because I do believe that you have to kind of teach people how to treat you. If you just let yourself get fucked over by people over and over and not say anything, then you're gonna get treated like that.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where I would maybe deviate a little bit. Um, but I'm not a very agreeable person, so I think we're probably a little bit different in that way.
I don't know about that,
Um
man. I feel like, yeah,
yeah,
maybe, I don't know. I
I
disagree.
have no idea. I
I
have no idea.
disagree, but yeah, sure.
I disagree.
Now I'm gonna be disagreeable.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, man. Last final question. I know we've talked about this a little bit in this podcast, but this is something I like to ask everybody, especially people who've been doing, what we do for a long time to inspire, I guess, the next generation of creators, streamers, and whatnot. Just any advice that you would give to somebody who's like thinking about starting a channel, thinking about streaming. What advice would you give to them to help guide them on their content creation journey?
Don't start without a money cushion. Don't just start without having, I don't know, something saved up. Because if you don't, you're gonna take shitty sponsorships. You're gonna lose connection to your viewers. You're gonna beg for subs. You're gonna be weird about it. You don't actually care about making a community. You just care about making cash. That's I think what kills most content creators at the start. You have to be completely free from that and just be able to create, find your footing. That's what I would say.
Nice. Yeah, I think that that's some great advice, dude. Like, I feel like you immediately thought about this as sort of like a full-time job. I was probably asking as like maybe a full-time job, but more so just like someone who wanted to start like as a like part-time thing or casually. So I don't know if you have anything more to add that's like maybe even within that realm of things. But yeah, I think that's super
In
good
that
advice.
case, I
Yeah.
mean, what would be I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. Just I don't know. Don't bend for anybody, I guess. Just try what you want to try anyways and just see what happens. It's hard for me to say cuz like I said I'm really 100% or 0% kind of guy, so it's like, yeah. I don't know if well, I'm sure it happens all the time, right? Where people just start casually and then they kind of make it into a job. But I feel like you're at such a disadvantage. But if you just want to create content, I mean, honestly, just make it for yourself, make it presentable, put in the work, and yeah, people are gonna like it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm honestly not sure. I have
No,
nothing interesting to say there.
no, it's good, dude. It's good. I think we talked about a lot of like of like perspectives along the way through this conversation where it was like more of building off of what you just said, where it was like, you know, trying to always prioritize doing stuff that you would enjoy, I think is like a really big one for me. And I think that, something that you agreed with, like your passion comes across. And like,
Yeah,
I think to kind of tie it all together, like if you're just doing stuff for the bag, like without passion, like people kind of understand that that like that comes
I
across too.
guess
So yeah.
I guess to be a little bit more pragmatic and maybe a little bit cynical, you don't earn enough in this field 99.9% of the time to not be enjoying what you're doing. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Maybe that's a little bit more grounded. Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, dude, we did the damn thing. Thank you so much for coming on today, pal. It's been an absolute pleasure. You're awesome. Just at this point in time, just plug yourself, dude. Where can we find you? And yeah, maybe if you want to talk about your own podcast or anything you also that you're going to be working on the next little while.
Yeah, so you can find me on twitch.tv/Pastrun. I stream over there mostly daily, especially daily in like times like League Start, PoE1, PoE2, sometimes Last Epoch, Torchlight Infinite, stuff like that. Yeah, youtube.com/Pastrun. And also have the PoE report that I do with Dreamcore. We do a podcast there. So we're going to do that in PoE1, PoE2. But yeah, fun times.
Amazing.
Thank you for having me, man.
Hey, it's been a pleasure. Guys, if you're watching it live on Twitch or YouTube, I appreciate you. If you're watching the VOD on YouTube, I appreciate you as well. As always, I will be leaving links to Palstron's Twitch, YouTube, and to Dreamcore's channel as well, because I believe the podcast is posted on Dreamcore's channel, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been an absolute blast. Until the next time, have fun, stay safe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. All right, everybody, that wraps it up for this episode of the Passive Tree Podcast. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe for more PoE2 content. I have a bunch more episodes of the podcast lined up with some really great guests, so keep your eyes peeled for that. If you're interested in supporting the podcast and the channel, consider supporting through Patreon. There's a link in the video description. A special shout out to Kevin F. for supporting this channel. I appreciate you. Thank you. And until next time, happy blasting, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.